Hi guys, Joe here, and welcome to 750 Gaming. In this one, I'll share my hobbying experience over the last year and give you some tips that I think could help you over this festive season and into the next one. Okay, so we are very quickly arriving at Christmas 2023. I'm not ready for it, and if I'm honest, I'm not sure I'm even ready for today. But that's kind of the point. You see, I am a 36-year-old man. I have a wife, 2 kids, a full-time job, various life commitments, and then I have this ridiculous hobby that tries to find a way to access my time, money, and energy. It's all good, but as ever, it's all about finding that right balance. And the reason that I started this 750 gaming thing in this little corner of the internet was to share my experiences and try to help others who share a lot of my circumstances. And over the last year, I've done 25 videos, including this one, ranging from ideas for budget-friendly army lists to my thoughts and opinions on the hobby as a whole. I even did a painting guide and a hobbying guide for what it was worth. And as I look back across 2023 and the things that I've created and painted, I thought, how on earth did I actually manage all that? Relatively speaking, of course, it's not a lot, but this year I've managed to put together 1,000 points of Emperor's Children Chaos Space Marines, rebuild my Black Templars from scratch up to 1,000 points again, put together around 500 points of White Scars and Inquisition-led Red Hunter Space Marines. Hopefully I'll finish off 500 points of Space Wolves by the end of the year, and I've also got another 500 points of Novok Necrons kicking around with some of those homebrew flayed ones in tow. I also painted up around 50 Sabutio players too for some mates of mine, but that's a tale for slightly later on. So considering I rarely get more than a couple of hours a week to hobby in amongst life, the universe and everything, that's a fair amount of projects and miniatures going on there. So here's 5 thoughts that helped me, and they might well be tips that help you in your hobbying endeavours going forward. Number 1. Plan ahead, but don't buy too much ahead. You may be a completely spontaneous person when it comes to creativity. I totally get that. But sometimes putting some structure and order into your life really helps. I plan out what I want to achieve. If I have a good idea for an army or a project, I try to spend a bit of time working out what that's going to look like. For instance, my current priority project is to increase my Space Wolves. I have a shopping list of what units I want or need to complete this army up to 1,000 points, and I will buy it 1 unit at a time. I know that sounds terribly boring, all hail the pile of potential, of course, but if you're not careful, you can end up over-investing in boxes of plastic that sit there on a shelf, intimidating you and possibly overwhelming you, and obviously all the time you're not using it, it's just wasted cash that you could have been using on something else. Now, if you are a go big or go home type of person, with all the time, money and a dedicated hobby space with which to store this lot, then the chances are I've probably got nothing for you. Or if you've actually set aside a couple of £100 or dollars and the relevant resources in order to do a whole big army project in a short space of time, then sure, ignore me. But if time, money, energy and space is an issue, be disciplined. Buy what you need when you need it. The only time I'd say don't go piecemeal with an army is if said army is going to include all the units you can find in a box set, say a combat patrol box. In that case, get the box. Firstly, because it's often a good deal. Secondly, because you'll actually be using all the units and it won't just sit there as wasted plastic. And thirdly, because Combat Patrol is actually a great game if time is an issue. It allows you to fully immerse yourself into 40k without needing to carve out that 3-4 hour slot in life. And of course you may finish your Combat Patrol and decide enough's enough and stop there with that army, knowing actually you've got a totally okay set of miniatures for a totally okay set of rules done. A finished Combat Patrol is a finished project. Number 2. Bargain shopping. There is a certain thrill of going into a Warhammer store, looking at all the boxes on the shelves and then coming out with a load. I get it. It's a very tactile shopping experience that creates that rush of serotonin. I've got no issues there at all. And it's also very convenient if you have a Warhammer store within walking distance on a lunch break, say. But if you can wait a day or two to shop somewhere else or however long for shipping to arrive, then please, please, please buy from a third-party retailer or a friendly local gaming store. Plastic ain't cheap. If your money is tight and you don't have to pay the full price for something, then why would you? Games Workshop made 90 million quid's worth of profit before tax this calendar year. They're doing okay. They're not going to miss a couple of pounds. And on that note, please also check out eBay. It's great for those extra units that people are trying to get rid of from their pile of potential, and also great for bits and bobs here and there if you've got a kit bashing project on the horizon and actually a second-hand miniature will do. You can also get some great bargains if you're prepared to wait or to hunt around. I made my 1,000 points of Black Templars this year for just over 100 quid. A third of what it would have cost to have done that by buying everything new at RRP. It's just good business. Number 3. Have multiple projects on the go at once. A controversial one, and one that may seem to contradict my first point about not buying more than what you need. But here's the thing. Sometimes life throws you curveballs. Okay, every day life throws you curveballs. I've been lucky enough to have completed what I've completed this year. But sometimes you can be working on a project forever, just because. And sometimes, if said project is taking forever, and it's all you're ever working on, it can feel like a slog, and you lose the joy, and you find you're only still doing it so that you can say it's finished when it's done, if it ever gets done. And you know what? That's no way to hobby. So, have a few projects or a few other things on the go. If you've been painting termagants for what feels like an eternity and they're the only Tyrannid units you've got left to paint and you've found yourself in a creative mood with time to spare to paint stuff, but you really, really, really don't want to paint yet more bugs, what a missed opportunity. Have some palette cleansers handy. Go paint some of those Space Marines from the Leviathan box set instead. This year, I've swapped between various different projects at various different times just because I was bored. I've been painting Black Templars for what felt like forever, so I decided to spend a few weeks painting Space Wolves instead. And just painting those Space Marines a different colour made the experience feel fresh. And then once that novelty wore off, I went and did some kit bashing for my Chaos dudes instead before getting excited once again to paint more black power armour. So no, it doesn't completely contradict point number 1. I'd say buy a box of miniatures for Project B and C to have ready just in case. But don't buy all the boxes you need for Projects A, B and C all in one go. Please, for sanity's sake. Number 4. Guerrilla Painting. Now, a chap on Instagram coined this phrase and I really liked it. This is possibly the main reason I've managed to achieve as much as I've achieved this year, and I think it's going to be the number 1 bit of advice for getting through this Christmas period with all the commitments we have and all the downtime, but not downtime we have, and all those untouched sprues we may be fortunate enough to acquire this year. We're very fortunate to own a 3-bed house here in the UK, but it's full. There's no spare room, nor a lot of spare space. I'm lucky that I can work from home at times, and when I do, it's often from our kitchen table. So I don't have a dedicated hobby space set up anywhere. Well, that's not technically true. Hold on a sec. So when I know I've actually got a few hours to call my own that I want to use to hobby, I drag everything out and I set up on the kitchen table and I hobby away for as long as I want to. And then I have to make sure it's all clear and clean again, ready for next morning's breakfast. It's not ideal for super productivity, and I may do that once a fortnight, if I'm lucky. But what I do have is a little enclave I've managed to carve out and establish in the corner of our utility room. It's not big enough to store anything massive or to work on anything significant for a long period of time, but it's space enough that I can leave my paints and some miniatures and things here, ready to go. And what I do is, if I've got 10, 15 minutes spare at any point, and I'm feeling that creative urge, I go in there, I put a colour on something, and then I go back to whatever it was I needed to be doing originally. If I'm honest, I think at least 50% of my Black Templars got painted whilst I was cooking in some way, shape or form. Bam, 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 whap that in the oven, paint some silver bits, stir that thing on the hob, let it simmer, paint some gold bits, that kind of thing. And the same goes for assembling stuff. Cut that bit off the sprue, cut that other bit off the sprue, glue them together, walk away and do whatever you're meant to be doing whilst the glue dries. I don't know what that might look like for you in your respective situations, but I found this to be such a great way to hobby. I get to scratch the creative itches far more regularly than I would do otherwise. I have fun, and it helps me to move those projects along. One thing to note as well is, I do this bit of hobbying standing up. It's not comfortable for long periods of time, which means I can't do it for long periods of time. And therefore I don't go missing into some self-absorbed state and forgoing my family and the actual important bits of life. But what I can do is use it to take 5 minutes, to recoup, to go paint a colour, to breathe, to relax, to reset, and then go once more onto the breach. And number 5, remember this is meant to be fun. Know when to stop. I mentioned earlier that I painted around 50 Subbuteo figures for some friends of mine. They run an accountancy and digital marketing business, and what they do is very cool, and it makes stuff that doesn't sound like it should work together quite an exciting venture. They use Subbuteo motif in a lot of their media, and they use it as a client engagement tool in their offices when they're having meetings. And they were having a soiree at the end of November, and they thought it would be a cool idea to send everybody home with a Subbuteo figure painted up in their business livery. Really cool idea. They asked if I could paint them, and I said, sure, that sounds like fun. Let's do a little commission project. Well, the way that life, universe and everything panned out, I think we ended up with about a week and a half to get them done before the event. And because they were little and fiddly, and because I wanted to do a decent job on them, it ended up taking around 13 to 14 hours of batch painting to get them all done. Safe to say, I didn't pick up a paintbrush again until the beginning of this week, and all I'm really doing here is dry brushing some fur on these Fenrisian wolves and putting some colours on my last 3 Space Wolf blade guard. And this is all I'm going to be doing until the end of the year, until January. And you know what? I'm not putting any pressure on myself to actually get them done before then. You see, I just spent a solid couple of months and a lot of time and energy rebuilding those Black Templars. And then I binge batched more tiny little Subbuteo guides than I really should have, and I needed to take a break. I enjoy looking at the end product and going, yeah, we did it, awesome, but I can't say I've actually enjoyed the hobbying side of this over the last couple of months 100%. Definitely bits of it I have. I very much got the thrill when converting up my High Marshal Helbrecht, but a lot of the other stuff has been a bit grindy. I restarted a journey in this hobby as a fun, cathartic, creative outlet. Sometimes it's important to remember why you do things and take a break, see if you miss it and actually want to be doing it still, not just because you've got yourself into some kind of routine. And then sometimes I've also found it important to know when to just stop or be significantly more disciplined with my time. My family comes first, no arguments whatsoever. Everything else is just flavour on top. Hobbies should be fun add-ons to your life to help you enjoy your downtime, to help you relax and reset. But sometimes they can become a bit of a habit in themselves. And then when life gets in the way of our habits, you get angry and frustrated with life, when life itself should be your habit. I think that works as some kind of mad philosophy, maybe, but hopefully you get my point. If your hobbying stops being fun or, is causing you other issues, then the chances are you've got to make a change somewhere. So there you go. 5 things that may help and encourage you to find time and ways of hobbying over the next month or the next year or just over the next Christmas period where life is inevitably going to be very, very busy. If you think you found this useful or interesting, then let me know. And I'm always interested to hear what you've got to say. So if you've got other techniques or ways to hobby when life is busy and plastic ain't cheap, then let me know below. I'm all ears. Let me take a chance to just say Happy Christmas and God bless. And as ever, thanks for watching and watching any of these videos that you have done over the last year. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one as we cruise into 2024. Let's go! Yes, thanks for watching. Do give this video a like and a comment if you enjoyed the content, or indeed otherwise, as I do love to read your thoughts and ideas. As ever, this is just a bit of fun for me. I don't have a regular release schedule or Patreon or anything, so hit subscribe if this is something you'd like to see more of, and you can catch my content when it happens. Hopefully, I'll see you next time.